What really happened with your host, Mike Rivero. You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, where you'll find out what the Fukushima's going on.
And aloha, America. Welcome to our show today. It is Wednesday, November 30th, 2016, last day of the month here, starting December tomorrow, and just all kinds of things going on here today. The phone lines are open, 800-313-9443, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be taking very many phone calls because we have got so much news to get through, and probably third hour is when you should think about calling on in with your comments and questions. Meanwhile, Mike is in our control room keeping us out of trouble, and we're about to go. All right, well, Jill Stein, just under the deadline, filed for a presidential vote recount request in Michigan. And everybody is trying to figure out what the heck is going on, because Jill Stein cannot win the presidency with recounts in 3 states. She's acting as a front for Hillary Clinton. Now, Michigan already had a hand recount. The margin was so tight there, state law mandated a recount by hand. They've already had it. Okay? And Jill Stein is justifying her demand for a recount on the basis that there were some blank ballots found somewhere. That's it. It's a bit of a reach. Now, in theory, the recount starts Friday. They're going to work through the weekends, and they can complete the recount before the Electoral College, unless there is a contest of the recount itself, in which case Michigan will not make the deadline to be part of the Electoral College. This is what's going on here. Nobody's expecting the recount to reverse the results in the 3 states. Hillary's game here is to take Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania out of the Electoral College by tangling them up in Florida 2000-style legal proceedings, so that going into the Electoral College, the gap between Hillary and Trump is much narrower, so that only a handful of electors who are being threatened or bribed or blackmailed can flip from Trump to Hillary and hand her the White House. That's their game plan. That's their game plan. She's going to steal the White House, and she could trigger a civil war with all this nonsense. And if she steals the White House, I can't imagine anybody except the snowflakes and the buttercups and the pansies and everything thinking this is in any way legitimate. Now, there's a story that came out of AlanBWest.com that you need to pay attention to. These are the actual numbers from the election. There are 3,141 counties in the United States. Trump won 3,084 of them. Hillary won 57, the counties that surrounded those huge urban centers with so many voters in them. There are 62 counties in New York State. Trump won 46 of them. Clinton got 16. Now, it's claimed that Clinton won the popular vote by approximately 1.5 million votes, but that doesn't stand up when you subtract out the dead and illegal immigrants. So, basically, where Hillary got all of her votes, with these huge, densely populated Democratic cities where there are all these illegal immigrants voting, and, of course, the vote riggers go to the high population density areas because it's easier to just have lots and lots of votes and people to work with close at hand. They're not going to go out and try and steal the election driving across rural America. So Hillary has not given up. Like Vampirella, she has risen from the grave and strides across the countryside. Recount, recount. It's not the recount she's after. It's preventing Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania from participating in the Electoral College. That's the game plan. That's what's going on here. Now, I understand Donald Trump's lawyers are getting involved, but the problem is they're up against that December 19th deadline of the Electoral College. Challenges from either side could make the states miss their deadlines to get their results certified for the Electoral College. And that's what Hillary wants. That's why Jill Stein waited so late to start this, to run out the clock, so that even if Trump's lawyers get involved, it simply drags out the legal process all that much more. That's what they're trying to do. This is Florida 2000 all over again. And remember, after Florida 2000, the government promised they were going to fix the election system. Did they ever do it? Of course not. That's why we're in this mess again. Because we have a national election system designed to facilitate and conceal election fraud. That's what's going on. Now, Obama is already out there saying, no, illegal immigrants voted in the election. He can't possibly know that. Because of all during this year, Democratic lawyers went all across the country knocking down voter ID laws in state after state after state. A lot of this was funded by George Soros. So you don't have a factual basis for saying no illegal immigrants voted in this election. Meanwhile, you've got votefraud.org and truethevote.org are both saying millions of non-citizens voted in this election. Hillary's people are out there saying, oh, but she won the popular vote. She won the popular vote. She should be the president. Do you remember during the primaries when Bernie Sanders kept winning the popular vote, but somehow Hillary got all the delegates? Did you see Hillary stand up and say, well, we should respect the popular vote, and I'm going to give some of my delegates to Bernie Sanders? Do you remember seeing her do that? Of course not. She never did. Because the elections are a contest about electors, not the popular vote. Aloha, America. Welcome back to the show here. And I just found Trump supporters' story here. A Montgomery County judge is rejecting Green Party-backed requests for recounts of presidential election results in about 78 precincts. Judge Bernard Moore gave no immediate reason for the rejection, and a lawyer for the voters who made the request says he doesn't know yet whether they'll appeal. Probably they will, because the game here is not the recounts themselves. The game here is to tangle up these three states in Florida 2000-style legal tangles so that they cannot participate in the Electoral College, narrowing the gap between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump to where just a handful of bribed, blackmailed, threatened electors will go faithless and try and steal the White House for Hillary Clinton. Hillary and her people are making a mockery of our entire system. Even if she loses, even if she wins, people are going to look at the American election system and say, this is not democracy. And again, especially if Hillary fails. If Hillary succeeds in stealing the White House, she's going to keep the election system exactly the way it is. If she fails, we should take this as a warning call. We have 2 years to demand a complete overhaul of our election system, of how votes are counted, tabulated, verified, and yes, there needs to be voter ID. If you're not a citizen, you shouldn't vote. And both votefraud.org and truethevote.org have said at least a minimum of 3 million non-citizens voted in this last election. All right, let's go back to the phones. Mark in North Carolina. Aloha. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
How you doing, Mike? Wow, that's if she, I can't see her stealing it, but if she does, it'll be impossible for her to govern. If that happened, I mean, it would be a total fraud.
Absolutely. I'm not going to listen to her. I'm not going to view the government as legitimate.
Those three, I don't think she'd have the armed forces behind her or anything else either. If she did something like, there is no way. But if this happened with those 3 states, wouldn't it just they would postpone the Electoral College then?
Well, unfortunately, that date for the Electoral College is set in the Constitution. I think that would be a good idea. I mean, the reason for the spaced out timing in the Constitution was when the Constitution was written, horseback was the fastest means of communication. I think there is no practical, technical reason why that Electoral College couldn't be delayed, especially with the presumptive winner already forming his cabinet and administration. But whether or not they could do it, I'm certain that Hillary would go to court and say, no, you follow the Constitution. This could wind up in the Supreme Court. This is worse than Florida 2000. It really